Okay, Nimi, I did a pass on your character's face. Here's kind of where I ended up at, and then this is where I was earlier, or when we got the file. So the main thing I was noticing is that here we got the camera set up. Like her face, we're making it too like round in my opinion. This feels very straight, and then the eyes, just to feel good, I think you need to set it back, and have like the cheek. Let's do mask. So, like you want to have like a forehead and then like the eye socket, and then you want the cheek to come forward, you want the mouth to come forward, and you want the chin to come forward. So that's kind of like what we expect with the like face. And so by having the face just go completely like that, kind of makes it look like she has like a sunken chin, and then like her face is bulging forward. I also probably wouldn't do this right here, like with the pupils. If anything, I would just paint them on instead. So that kind of, I think, kind of misleads us a little bit too. So it doesn't look bad at all when you take those away. But yeah, so this is just my impression of how that would work. So I'll go ahead and copy your tool. So copy tool, paste tool, just so I can work on it. And I won't go quite as far as this, but I'll show you kind of what I did. So the first thing I did was I kind of had to ignore the eyes for a little bit, and I just pushed a lot of this stuff back. So, I was keeping the chin more or less where it was, but I was just kind of pushing back a lot of the face parts just so it had more of an angle coming in, which meant, of course, that, we had to pull back a bit on the mouth stuff. So, let's do that. Let's pull the lips back. I always like the upper lip to be more forward than the lower lip, if possible, unless the design calls for not that to happen. I was also kind of pulling. I think ended up pulling back. I don't think I pulled back quite this far. Yeah, you can see my mouth kind of goes forward a little bit, but I do pull back that eye socket area quite a bit. Let's go ahead. Let's turn that off. Let's turn on dynamic subdivision. Let's turn on symmetry. So just pulled that stuff back. Um, Obviously at one point I welded the forehead and the uh so there's like this mesh here. I just completely like pushed that one all the way back here. Welds. And then same thing with this one. We just push this all the way back. I just I was it was getting to be too many meshes to worry about, so I was kind of just pulling that all back. Let's pull that so it intersects. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and compare. Let's go to my camera. So that's in a pretty good spot. Her chin can come forward, but her face can get shorter. So let's make this also symmetrical. Mirror and weld. And same thing with this one. Mirror and weld. That's symmetrical. This is not symmetrical. Mirror and weld. And these need to be symmetrical. Mirror and weld. Oop. That's interesting. Let's not worry about that one then. Mirror and weld. All right. That's mostly just from me not turning on symmetry when I was working on this. Cool. So I'm gonna have like this outer cheekbone area further back in space than the center area where that connects to the nose. Right? I'll let that come forward a little bit. Let's see. Go ahead and let's go back to look at our reference in a second. Let's go ahead and push the eyes back again. So I'll push the eyes in. I know I had to at some point scale these in, so I just turned on local symmetry and just scaled them in and then move them forward. Scale them in and move them forward. Oh, I see why that wasn't working, because they're separate objects. Let's go ahead and delete this one. Delete. Okay. And then we'll just delete those. We don't need this. Okay. And then this one I'll just mirror and weld without symmetry on. Mirror and weld. And if we need to make eyeball objects that don't touch each other later, we'll just remake a sphere, line it up, and then flip it. But for now, it's easier for me to just move them both at the same time. Okay. What I did was I also took this thing right here. Let's go and push this back. Let's push it back in space. I also added a lower eyelid, which, you know, I would get rid of later, but it's just to kind of help me understand where the eye line is going to be. So I'm just going to go ahead and put something in there for now. And then I'm going to go ahead and subdivide, and then just Z-remesher so they both have the exact same kind of density. And then I can turn on dynamic subdivision. All right, so let's go back to camera. You see that bottom eyelid's, you know, this is much narrower eyeball. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that stuff up. And it'll look like she's squinting for a while, but that's okay. We just need that to get a good reference. Let's go ahead and go to camera. We still got a ways to go. So let's pull this up. Eyeballs are always really hard to get, in my opinion. That's close enough. I might lower the upper eyelid a bit. You can see it kind of comes down pretty low, but I'm not going to go that low just because the other side doesn't quite have that. All right. So knowing that, now I'm going to configure my head information to kind of, or my face information to kind of support this. So I feel like to do this, the eyes are coming a little too far forward again, so I probably need to pull the eye stuff back. So now that I have this eye line and kind of like the face stuff lined up, what I'm going to do is, actually, let's go ahead and merge this down with the face. Okay, so we'll take the face. So let's merge that down, merge down. So, okay. And then what I'm going to do is, here we go. I'm going to take this and I'm going to go ahead and clone it so that I can work on, or, you know, I'm going to do the Z-remesher, or Dynamesh Z-remesher workflow. So first I'm going to go ahead and, let's go ahead and just mask this. I'm holding control and dragging on the mesh. I just want to kind of hide that part because I want to leave that part alone. And then I'm just going to use inflate just to kind of get these guys to oversect right here and doodle a bit in the back, just so there's no weird thin geometry. And then I can, once those are welded together, I can clean that up a bit more. So what we're going to do is we're going to Dynamesh with a high subdivision or high resolution. Oops, let's clear our mask before we do that. Oh, I got dynamic subdivision turned on. It's subdivided a few times. There we go. Say no. There we go. I'm going to copy paste. All right. And then on this one, I'm going to go ahead and Z-remesh this one. So we'll do Z-remesher. I'll just start with 5, see how that does it. And, you know, I should be doing this with the lip stuff too, but I'll let you worry about that. So let's make sure we're soloing. Add subdivision, subdivision, subdivision on this remeshed one. And then on each subdivision level, I'm just going to go ahead and click on project all. I'm soloing right now, so I'm not seeing this other one. So project all, go up subdivision level, project all, go up subdivision level, project all. All right, so it should look exactly like this one, but this one now has topology that supports it and subdivision levels, which makes it way more flexible. So we're going to go ahead and insert this back into our layer stack and delete the original one because we don't need it anymore. And let's go with turn offs solo. Let's go and clean up this transition here. It's going to smooth that out. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and fix this eye socket region. So one of the reasons why I merge these together at this point is I'm going to have to kind of, here, we'll show you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, go back to mask pen. I'm going to go ahead and select this area right here. I'm going to soften that selection. I kind of just want to grab the whole eye socket region because what I'm going to do is do a multiple select, holding Control Shift, including the face. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these objects, the eyeballs, this object, and then that soft selected area around the face at the same time. So we're just going to move that all back a bit more. Okay. And we can look at mine just, to see if, yeah, that's mine's kind of that far back, maybe a little bit further back. So let's go ahead and do that a little bit more. So I'll just move that back a little bit more. There we go. And we'll just clear that out. So, of course, we want to check against our camera. That doesn't, feel wrong, right? So might feel wrong pushing it back that far, but, it's not refuted by the reference, right? So let's go ahead, and I think just, the whole reason why we're doing this is we want it to just feel a little bit more like human. This is so stylized. I think bringing back a little bit of that, realistic anatomy will help. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to come here. I'm going to use just clay with a soft Z intensity, and I'm just going to use this to build up and push down surfaces. So I kind of want a bit of a raised cheekbone. This area right here, I want it to slope down to the mouth. Pull that in. I'm going to keep this distinction here, and if anything, I'm going to go ahead and pull it in a little bit more. And on the face, we'll just go ahead and just build that forward to cover that area. We'll just smooth it out. Let's go ahead and raise that area up a bit, just so she has a bit of an eyelid region that she can work with. We'll just fill this space in. I'm just using clay to kind of add volume back into here, so it's less concave. Okay, let's take a look at this mouth. Okay, so for the mouth, first, I think what I want to do is I want to bring her chin forward. So not quite there, but I'm going to bring her chin forward, and her whole mouth region should be, like, in my opinion, more forward than, this area up here, right? This should fall behind the mouth. The mouth should fall behind the nose, right? So we're going to do that. I'm going to take these guys. We'll just go ahead and let's turn that off. Let's go back to these guys. I'm just going to turn on dynamic subdivision. So we're just going to take this. Oh, and I'm going to combine it with the mouth, the lower lip. So let's go merge these. Merge. Guess I don't have it in there. I should probably merge down. So, okay, cool. So let's go ahead and move these guys forward a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and just clean up I think it's called the philtrum or something like that. It's going to clean up that, that little kind of divot thingy. Let's make sure it's mirrored. Okay, cool. We're baked in a little bit too much, a smile. Let's go ahead and I can go ahead and click on auto groups, which can be found in this little pop-up menu, or it can be found under the polygroups menu. And I'm going to go ahead and select this. And just pull that out a bit. One of the problems is, like, it feels like her lower lip is protruding past her upper lip, which, maybe this part can get closer, but the middle part, needs to be with the rest of the mouth. Let's go ahead and I'll take this part. Let's go ahead and invert that. I'll just go ahead and add some volume back into this. Lips are hard too, I think. I mean, pretty much everything on the face is hard. Okay. So we could do that. This part right here, we can just push in a little bit. If we have to go to a higher subdivision, that's fine, but let's go ahead and actually let's use the Damien standard, see if this helps. So I'm just going to kind of push in this mouth area just so I have a little bit more play in this area. And build up the area around it if we need to. And then that way I can do this stuff a little bit more. Let's go and pull that up. bottom part out a little bit more. We want the top part of the lower lip to tuck in. I'm just going to pull this stuff out. Oops. Got a sharp lip. So let's go ahead and pull that back. I want it to feel a little bit more round, got kind of square. Okay. All right, so that's feeling pretty decent. Let's see, we're gonna go ahead and just correct these guys. Turn on dynamic subdivision. Let's push this part in so we can get a little bit more room on the eye. Let's go ahead and look at the camera. Cool. So that feels accurate-ish. Let's go ahead and push this stuff in. So I need this stuff to come up, right? Because I don't want this like irregular, what's it called? Lower eyelid kind of shape. Just kind of pulling it up so it's a little bit more regular there. Just smooth that down to get it to even out. Okay. I can feel there's like a weird spot here. So I think probably what's happening is there's like a divot in there. So I'm just gonna fill it up a bit with clay. Then I'm probably gonna push this area back just a bit. Okay. So we're gonna have to probably combine the mouth and the nose. One thing I know from looking at this is that the mouth is probably too low. Yep. Let's go ahead and raise the mouth up while it's separate. Let's go down a subdivision level or two. And we're just gonna move this stuff up, including the chin. I want the chin to be a little bit narrower. Okay. Something about this mouth area doesn't sit right with me. I want it to kind of come forward more compared to the eye socket area because it just feels kind of, this whole area feels kind of pinched and pushed back. Just still feels kind of weird. Since I moved that jaw, let's go ahead and fix that jaw shape. I'm just going to get that to be more or less a straight line. And we can go ahead and come in here and just use Damien Standard to try to define a clean shape. It pops out too far, right? So I'm gonna have to pull that in a bit, kind of pulled out in this area too far. So pull that out. Seeing about playing around with her cheek and jaw area. So kind of deflated a little bit of her cheek area. Let's see. Let's see what her nose is looking like. Let's go to the camera. So her nose is coming too far forward. Her mouth can still go up a bit more. So let's go ahead and just go here and move that up more. Let's just look at the camera and see. All right, so the whole thing can come up more. So let's go ahead and pull the whole thing up. Let's see. Let's look at the camera. All right, that's a little bit closer, maybe a little bit lower. And we're gonna go ahead and take this whole area and push that up. That's feeling pretty good. I think her nose can come up and in a little bit. Her nose comes to too much of a point here for me. It doesn't feel quite so pointy in the reference. So I just used really low inflate just to kind of give a little volume back in there. And then we could, we can still define like a plane change here, right? Using like Damien standard. I'll just do that. I'll just go ahead and grab the bottom of the nose, give a little bit of volume. And then we can, maybe we need to pull it up again. Let's take a look again at the camera. So that face element right here comes forward more. Let's see, the nose. We could probably just pull that in a bit more. This gets a little kind of weird right here. I'm just going to use clay just to kind of even that space out a little bit. Let's see. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use lasso, and we're going to go ahead and grab her nose all the way down to there. Let's go down to low subdivision level, and we're just going to control tap to feather that mask. And then I'm just going to try moving this all forward more. Because looking at that reference, right, like that nose comes, or that transition to the cheek is a lot more forward. Let's smooth that area out. Let's see what that looks like. I don't love it, but it's probably more accurate to the reference. Let's push it back more back here. Let's go ahead and point this chin again. We get getting wobbly lines in the jawline. Let's make sure that's not happening. Let's see. Yeah, there's still a little bit of a weird kind of wobble going on in there. Let's go ahead and fix this guy. Let's go ahead and mirror and weld. Just make sure it's symmetrical. And I'm just going to just smooth that thing out for now. I think otherwise it's good. Okay. So she's looking pretty good. Actually, kind of, yeah, let's see. I don't know how I feel about it compared to this one. I mean, yeah, this one feels more graceful, but this one kind of, I don't know, the difference between them. I think this one I went a little bit more off of, away from the concept. But I could tell one thing I did in the other one is I pushed the cheekbones back a bit more. So her face and her cheekbones had a little bit more depth to them. And then when I was looking at it in this view, I was just double checking and making sure this felt pretty good. So this over here felt like it kind of came forward too much. I'll add a little volume back in. Smooth that area out. We'll just give a little bit more flesh to the corners of the mouth. But we'll combine those objects again later. Okay. And I'm going to take this stuff and just get it to be just flush with that stuff. And when we combine the mouth, we can combine that area as well, and then just like clean up this whole section right here. Make that a little bit more consistent. So yeah, it feels pretty good. I think there's a bit of like a weird kind of thing going on here, but I think what I want to do is, let's see, where's the lips? Let's bring the lips up. And where's this guy? Let's bring this guy up. So I'm going to merge these guys down. So merge down. Oop. Merge down. Okay. Merge down. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is we're going to do that same thing. Let's delete these guys. So delete. Okay. Delete. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and just make sure we grab, let's see, this one. And I'm going to go ahead and do clone. Clone. And then I'm going to take this, I'm going to duplicate it. And let's go ahead and, oh shoot. The only downside is I merged them together without my subdivision levels active, so that's not great. So I probably would go back, but just for time's sake, I'm not going to do that. So let's see, clear mask, subdivide. Okay. I'm just going to make sure that has enough topology. Let's duplicate it. And then on this one, let's go ahead and solo. I'm going to go ahead and Dynamesh again with a high resolution. Say no to that. All right, let's go ahead and clean up some of these areas before we do our Z-mesher. So that Z-mesher isn't tempted to draw edge loops that match those junction points too much. And then we're going to go ahead and run Z-mesher. Probably go a little higher because we got more topology. Let's just type in 7. Okay. I'm just going to subdivide. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and project. So let's go project all, and we got it all back. Some stuff we really didn't need, but it should look exactly the same. Let's go back to our file, and I'm going to insert the other head. I'm going to take this old one, delete it, say OK. And yeah, now we have that stuff back here merged together, which is great. And now we also have this stuff merged together, which is going to let me go ahead and clean up this area. So I'm going to go ahead and use like a bit of clay and smoothing just to kind of make that area a bit cleaner. I'm going to be careful of the nose, right? Because I don't want the nose to disappear too much. We'll go ahead and just, okay, let's add some subdivision levels. Subdivision. And I'm just going to go ahead and do the corners of the mouth. Just using Damien standard. And if I need to, I'll just go ahead and use the reverse of Damien standard just to define where the lips go. Okay. And I feel like I need a little bit of volume in here, so I'm just going to use inflate low Z intensity just to kind of give a bit more volume in here. Or you could use maybe clay just to kind of give a little bit of mass to this area. I'll make that kind of centered triangle thing maybe a little bit more prominent. See what that looks like. That definitely made it super prominent. So probably need to dial it back a bit. And I got like this kind of like a little highlight going on right here, which I don't like. Okay. And if I lost some of the shaping, I can just re-enhance that. Let's see, bottom lip, just add a little bit more volume. Okay. So the only thing I don't really like is there's a lot of light shadow stuff going on right here, which kind of bugs me a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and just use clay. Just use that to kind of flatten this area. And then I can use inverse clay to push it down again if I get like a weird kind of bump. I'm just going to soften that. I might build up around the corner of the mouth a bit. That part's kind of hard, so I might need to do this at a higher subdivision level. Okay, let's go up a subdivision level. Corner of the mouth is getting lost again, so we're just going to go ahead and carve. And her mouth is getting smiley, so we're just going to go ahead and just bring that down a bit. And it kind of feels like her lower lip should be bigger. So we're going to go to a lower subdivision level. We'll just go ahead and make her lower lip a little bit thicker. Okay. All right. So one thing I would do for the eyes is, let's go ahead and we'll take a look at this worm brush thing that I made. So let's go to, actually, let's do something else. We're going to do no, let's not worry about it. So I would worry about this later once you do your quad draw, but just going ahead and making these like eyelid objects, don't worry too much about the eyelashes, in my opinion. I would just get these to meet up at the corner. Push this one back. Try to get them to kind of sit more or less same thickness away from the eye, just so you're not, changing things too much. So I would just ignore the corner of the eyelash, right? Let's not think about these as eyelashes. We want to think about them as um, eyelids. And then we can put an eyelash object back on later. Let's go ahead and just make sure this mass overlaps that, which means I'll have to fill in this space a bit. And if I don't want to do that, then like, add this volume here, if that feels weird, then what I probably need to do is I need to reposition the eyeballs in terms of where they go and how they fit into the eye. Let's go ahead and before we commit to this, let's go ahead and go to camera. So her eyelid can be a little more closed. So let's go back in here. Camera. That's a little bit better. Okay. She's got a bit of an expression, so I would be careful not to get that in here and soften that transition right there. Or we can keep it. Her cheekbone area kind of feels a bit wimpy. There's also this kind of like weird kind of shape down here, right? You can see that shadow, how it goes like this towards her mouth. So her chin kind of juts out. So I'm going to fill this in a little bit with clay. And then I'm also going to flatten this a bit, again with clay, just holding Alt to push that all back. Clay is kind of like a large, smooth brush in a lot of ways. But it can build up form and get rid of form. So we can, maybe flatten that area right there, but then pull out the cheekbones a bit. That's something I would do a morph target on just to kind of compare before and after. Yeah, so this part right here, play with this a bit more. Let's make sure her actual geometric eyebrow, like her bony structure eyebrow, is beneath the eyebrow. Let's go ahead and simplify this area back here a little bit. I'll push this back enough so that I can get the eyelid. There we go. All right, so that's looking pretty good. I think this is probably a stopping point for me, but that's kind of where I would get to. Let's delete this. Delete. Okay. Delete. Okay. So yeah, it's kind of keeping in with our design. So here's the other one I did when I was doing it on my own time. Has its own qualities that are nice, but then this one I kind of like as well too for different reasons. Her face still feels a little kind of flat, so if anything, this one kind of feels a little bit more dimensional. This area right here feels like it's being pulled back more. And then I do like how this was being handled right there. And pushing the mouth forward a little bit more does look better on the other one. So I might go ahead and just pull the mouth forward a little bit more. And then I think the nose, okay, I made the nose a bit straighter. Oops. If we don't want this to point down too much, we can just raise that. And then I think shrinking this gap between the nose and the mouth will make her look more appealing. So there's that. There's the, oh, what? Which one's the old? This one's the old one. Okay, cool. So yeah, this one actually looks way better. I like that one. This one looks okay. So let's go ahead and go to camera and compare. Yeah, close enough for me. It's up to you guys if you agree. I can go ahead and maybe pull this stuff out a little bit more. Maybe kind of reduce this gap a bit there at the brow. Okay, I would probably make her head a little less, or a little bit more flat on the sides. Let's go ahead and just use clay to fill in this weird area right here a bit. Okay, let's make sure the neck is in a good spot. I think it's pretty good, but let's go ahead and pull it back a bit more. So it's a little bit more in her cranium, and we can just use this as like a transition mesh, so it doesn't become just purely A or B, or you know, such a fall off. Okay. And again, let's go back to our camera. Yeah. So I'm not going too extreme, but you know, we can push it back even more. Okay. Cool. All right. I think that's enough from me. So I'll go ahead and send you. I can send you this model, but I'll send you primarily screenshots in the video. All right. Hope this helps.